Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're going to be playing Ruined. Now, this was a puzzle submission from Timotab, and it doesn't actually have a difficulty rating as of the time of recording. So Timotab gave them both a 2-star difficulty rating, which is a bit unusual for me to post on a Thursday, but I'm kind of hoping that given it's Christmas week, it's Boxing Day here in the UK, that many of you will be on vacation and therefore taking a little bit more time to solve a slightly harder puzzle would be absolutely appropriate. Now, this puzzle has a new variant. I haven't actually seen it before, which is called Magic Sigils. And we're going to come back to that Magic Sigils in a second. But you can see kind of my attempt there to take these Magic Sigils, essentially a rune sword that will somehow give it strength, power, magic powers, and is that hearts in the background? And in addition to lightning, etc. So I guess power of love, lightning, electricity, and magic. What a combo. Anyway, let's take a look at today's puzzle and rule set with Ruined by Timotab. You can see a whole bunch of runes there. And the following set of rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. That means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, column, and 3x3 box, if I can actually select one. Then we've got killer cages. Essentially, digits in cages sum to the value in the top left corner. So these 3 cells, for example, have to add up to 8. These 3 are adding up to 7, 6, etc. And then the magic sigils, within each 3x3 box, straight magenta line segments have the same sum. So I did read the rules in advance, trying to figure out what it actually means. And the way I'm going to interpret this is, let's use box 1 as an example. This is one straight segment. This is a second straight segment. This is a third straight segment. So I'm not counting the corners, you can see. And then this is a fourth straight segment. And essentially, all of these are coming up to the same sums. That's kind of my interpretation of it. So that's all the rules we have for today. Should be fairly interesting. As always, if you want to play along, link will be in the description down below for you to do so. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. And I think I already have an inclination now. So obviously, 24, 23 are forced. This has to be 7, 8, 9. This has to be 6, 8, 9. Now, 22 has to have a 9. So if it's on, it doesn't contain a 9, it's 6, 7, 8. That's not going to work. The other thing that you can also see with Sudoku is that 8 and 9 are both in here. To get to 22, that would require a 5. So this is 5, 8, 9. There's a bunch of other forced digits, 1, 2, 3 in here, 1, 2, 4 in here. The 1 and 2 are clearly repeated inside the 8, so this is 1, 2, 5. Right. Back to box 1, because this is kind of where I drew some of those lines. Line 1, line 2, and line 3, they all have to have equal sums. In box 1, we know that we have the digits 1 to 9 once each. You add them all up, 1 plus 2 plus 3, all the way to 9, you will get 45. Divided by 3, because each of these segments is summing up to the same value, that would give me a sum of 15. That includes these 2 cells. So that has to be 7, 8. This would have to be a 9, and that's our break-in. Kind of. Now, the emphasis is within each 3x3 box. So just the fact that in box 1, the segments are adding up to 15 doesn't mean that this is true for box 2, box 3, etc. It's just true in box 1. So these are 15. One of them will be a 7. One of them will be 8. Now, to get to 15, essentially I have either 1, 5 or 2, 4. With the 7, and I don't know where the 7 is. And in fact, interestingly, 1, 5 would use up a 2. 2, 4, we'll come back to this. This is clearly like something interesting going on here. That 5, 8, 9, in fact, no, just the 5 is removed from here. This has nothing in common with the 23 or the 22. I've eliminated everything that's common. Interesting. Okay. Then let's, for a second, just for the sake of argument, say it's 1, 5. Then the 7 needs to get to, actually, let's use the 8. The 8 would need a 6. Sorry, the 8 would need a 7. And then 1, 6 is gone, 2, 5 is gone, so it would have to be 3, 4. Now, if that is 2, 4, that would have to be 1, 6. Interesting. Sorry, I'm just keeping track of how these things are stacking. So 1, 5, 3, 4. So essentially, you'll notice that the 1 is always gone between them, as is the 4. And then when we get to the 7, I need to get to 8, isn't it? Yeah, to get to 15. And I don't have 1, 6 as an option because the 1 is gone. My options are 2, 5, which I don't think is possible, because notice that the 2 is used in this option and the 5 is used in this option. No, it's not 2, 5, 2, 6. So it'll be 2, 6 or 3, 5 to get to 8, both of which work. Yeah, I'm going to move on. We'll come back to this. Right. So interestingly, what's the way to, like, I'm looking at box 9. So these two cells are a minimum of 4 and 5, because I've already used 1, 2, and 3. And then whatever these two cells are adding up to, I need to be able to place in here, because essentially this is segment 1, and then this is segment 2, and the only common digit between them is this, so you kind of discount it. Then these two cells have to equal whatever's in here. And that 1, 2, 4 gives me a 5 and a 4, and therefore this would have to be a 9. Now, if this cannot add up to 10, because if this is 1 and this all adds up to 10, this would have to add up to 10, and then this would be a double 5, which doesn't work. So 1 is off the table. 2 and 3 both work. 2 would make this 11, in which case this would be 6. 3 would make this 12, in which case this would be 7. 9 is off here. 5 is off there. Okay. 8 now has to be in here, along a 6 or 7. So that is not an 8. Starting to get very interesting. Kind of struggling to see if I could use a 9 in here. And I'm trying to think, why is that the case? So let's imagine that this is 9 is included here. And then the second option is 5 or 8. Even if I minimize this, 9 and 5, I'm already at 14. Now I can't even do 9, 5. I have to have an 8 in here. And if it's 9, 8, it's 17. And then these two cells would have to add up 17, which is impossible. So that would have to be the 9. This is a 4 because my 8 and 5 are adding up to 13. This would be 5. This would be the 8. And then 8 and 4 give me a 1 to add to 13. Now I'm kind of making the assumption that these two cells also have to add up to 13 because it's essentially each straight line magenta segment in the same box. So 4 and 5, 6 and 7, I mean, I don't have a problem with any of this. 1, and then in here, I need to have 2 and 3, I'm going to say, because I've used everything else. 6, 8, 9 also gives me a 7 and a 6 in here. Okay. The 1, 5, 2, 4 thing seems to be more restricted now. The 5 would have to be here, and the 4 would have to be there because of these two. Not enough information, really. Right, we're going to have to keep looking at different segments, it seems. You see, this one almost reminds me of magic squares, with so many different line segments adding up to the same value. And I'm kind of imagining if it's not a number that's close to 6, I'm probably going to be in trouble. But you see, this line is only 2 cells. Right, let's try 6. The maximum I would be able to get to is 7 in here, which I can't even get to. Right, so if this is a low digit like 6, 7 8 and 9 and 6 are all non-available. So that would have to be 5. And then 5 and 6 is 11. That's the maximum I can get to. And I'm kind of struggling to see how I would be able to get to that in the rest. Because essentially I'm just basically saying whatever this value is, it works actually. I need 2 different ways, 2 different pairs of being able to get to it, which surprisingly works. Essentially, one of these would be a 1, one of these would be a 4, one of these would be a 2, 3, one of these would be a 2, 3, and then the 7 would be hidden in this corner. So 5 with 6 actually work. Long story short, 6 works. Here's something more interesting. Sudoku says, where is 1 in box 1 in row 2? Can only be in here now. Meaning there is no 1 on this segment, so this has to be 4, 2. That also gives me 3 and 2. Right, 2 is down here. Actually, these 3 cells are now 3, 4, 5. And this is 1, 2, 7. I can probably do a bit of maths to figure this out, and I probably should, rather than exhausting all of my options. In here I need 1 and 5. Now remember, with the 8, I need to get to 7, and 5 would not work. I feel like I made a mistake here. With the 8, to get to 15, I need to add up to 7. Yeah, so with the 1, it would have to be a 6, and obviously the 5 doesn't work because the 2 is not available. Right, so this is 6, and the remaining digit of 3. And then for the 7, it'll be 7, 5, 3, which clearly adds up to 15. So that works. That is not a 2. Box 6, not very interesting. 3 cells that add up to 2 cells, not very exciting. Box 5 feels fairly involved and kind of reminds me a bit of this shape as well. In fact, it's exactly the same. 1, 2, 3. So that's one 3-line segment. This is a second 3-line segment. So no, it's not as involved because that's 1, 2. Actually, no, it is exactly the same. 2 3-line segments and 1 2-line segment. 2 cells, pardon me. Okay. Right. Logic would say if this is the 6, that this would be the 4. I need to do a bit of maths, unfortunately. So let me think about magic squares. If this was a magic square, how would I go about proving it using mathematics? Essentially, I would say I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lines going through the same cell. We know that all of them are adding up to 15, but we'll come to that in a second. More importantly, I'm adding all of the corner digits once, and then the middle digit 4 times. So in essence, this 45 box, when I've got a difference of, I've got 15, 15, 4 times, 60. You take away the 45, and then the extra digit that's being added 4 times. I mean, obviously, one of them is legitimate. The remaining 3, 15, divided by the 3 would be the 5. So it's a convoluted way of, I guess, doing it, but can I use this in any shape or form? Really tempted to try. So I've got 1 segment, 1, 2, and 3. Have to come up to the same sum. The challenge is I don't know what that sum is, otherwise I would have used it. I only know that plus the remaining digits will get me to 45, which is not a lot of information, to be fair. So, failing some clever trickery, actually that is not a 2. 1 and 3 gave me 2, 3, and 1. Maybe I should do a bit of Sudoku first, before I wholeheartedly commit to what may feel like bifurcation for a lot of you. In here I need 3, 8, and 6, 7. I'm actually just going to pencil mark a lot. And in here I need, it's not 1, 2, 3, I need 4, 5 with 6 or 7. Now, what I'm saying is these two cells have to come up to the same value as what's in here. And you can already see that the minimum I can get away with is 7, 3, and 4. So 3 and 6 are off the table here. I'm left with 7 or 8. And realistically, if I don't use the 3, 6 and 4 would be the remaining. I can't get to 10 a single cell. So that's definitely a 3. And this can only be 4 or 5 to get to 7 or 8. And then this cell, unfortunately, no longer matters at that point. Okay. I must know what this is. Hang on. I'm adding up to 12, so 5, that's 7. Therefore, that's 8, and therefore this is 5. That's so much better. This is 6. And then again, this cell doesn't matter. But these are not 5s or 6s anymore. That's 4, 7. And this is 6, 8. I can't actually place anything with that. Okay. Box 6 was easier than I thought. Right, we can use the geometry in box 4 a little. So these two cells and these two cells must have the same value because they're adding up kind of this joint cell in the middle. Okay. Now, how does this come into the picture again? This cell must be the same as these two, because it's adding up whatever's in here. Yeah, tricky. If my geometry was a little bit better when it comes to Sudoku, this would be like a fantastic puzzle. I just fear like I'm not able to show it off well enough. You know, it's more like I'm solving with intuition and past experience as opposed to like cracking mathematics and geometry. It deserves a better solver from what I'm observing so far. Right, what am I doing? My option is to rule out the 8 and 9 from in here, so I can press ahead with the 6, the 5. In fact, let's talk about the 5. Yes, the maximum I can have here is a 5. 3 and 4 are not going to work because remember, I need two pairs that add up to the same value. So that is 4, so that is a 5. That means that is not a 7. These are not 5s, and the 3, 4 pair have to join a 7. And then actually this center digit doesn't matter anymore, because as long as these and these sum up to whatever this value is, yeah, it will always work. So that's 7. And the 5 and 7 actually did nothing for me. So it feels like you almost need to solve every box on its own and then do a bit of Sudoku at the end to kind of tidy it all up. That's kind of what I'm starting to feel like I should be doing. And all of the rest is almost like for show. Right, this cell is pretty big. It's not 1, 2, 3. It's not 4, and it's not 5. It is 6, 7, or 8. Remember, there's a 9 in here. Now, that's quite a big digit because these 3 cells have to sum up to what's inside these 2. So I feel already like if I place an 8 in here, I'm going to be in trouble. Let's think about the minimum this digit can be. And if I don't go for that minimum, I imagine I'm going to be in trouble. Let's have a think about it. If it's not 3, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would put this at 6, which feels huge. And the reason I say that is if I make this 6, and I go for the minimum here with 7, and I go with the minimum here, I'm up 14. And I would need 5 and 9 in here, but the 5 won't be available. So 6 is disproved, I think. Well, let's try something else. 6 and 8 doesn't work because that would get me to 15, and then neither the 6 nor 8 are available for 6, 9, or 7, 8. So 6 doesn't work. That has to be 3. This has to be 6. I'm fairly sure that will tell me the rest. It has to be 6, 1, 8, and then 7, 5, 3 in here. That's not 5, that's not 1. And that's not 2. We've already done that. Now, this needs to be a fairly large digit, doesn't it? Let's think about what the minimum this is. This is a minimum of 10. 1, 3, and 6. Which would place 5, 3, and 2, and then 2 and 8. I mean, it doesn't work, but it doesn't really help me kind of narrow these down. It's really the secret is this cell. Which I can't really squeeze more logic out of. So I have another 6, 8 in here with a 7. The 7 is there, and this is the 6, 8 because of this 7. That 7 removes this as a 7 option. 6, 8 pair and 1, 2, 5 will give me what is the actual sum that's on here, and it's 4, 9, and it's adding up to 13. How do I get to 13 with what's there? Well, the 3 in the middle tells me that these two cells have to add up to 10, which I can only see as 8 and 2. And then I can only see as 1 and 9. That can't be 5, 4. So that's 1, that's 9, that's 4, that's 5, 5, and this is 6. And that is probably enough to start solving the rest of it. Almost. I still don't know what these segments add up to, but I now know what this one is. It's not 1, it's 3, 5, 6. So they are adding up to 14. 14 in two cells can only be 6, 8, or 5, 9. 3 is off the table. Well, 3 was off the table anyway. And this is not 5 or 6. That is a 3. And then the 5 would join a 9, and the 6 would join an 8. The 8 is not possible, so that is 5, 9, and that is 6. And remember, this cell needed to add up to the same as these two, so that kind of all works. Now, these two need to add up to 8, and it's not 2, 6, and it's not 3, 5. It is 1, 7, and we have direction on there. Lovely. And the 7 gives me 4 and 7, and this is not a 1, not a 9. Still get open to anything. And then these cells, let's just finish up. That's a 2, that's not a 2. And these are 4 and 8, which are unresolved. Okay. I can, yeah, I'll pencil mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not 7, not 5. I don't want to pencil mark given this 6. Actually, this 6, 8 is resolved. That's 8. That's 6. So I will pencil mark 3, 8, and 9. And remember, these two cells need to add up to the same as these two cells. Now, I already can see that the 3 doesn't belong, because the maximum I can get 3 and 4 would be a 7, and I'm already, whatever's left here, 8 and 9, will kind of break it. The 8 and 9 are 1 apart. To be 1 apart, it has to be 1 or 2. It's not the 4, and this is the 4. These are not 3s. That is the 3. And has that given me anything? Of course not. 3 has. 3 given me 4 and 3. These have to add up to 5. That's 2. That's 1. That's 2. That's 1. The 2 goes with the 8. The 9 goes with the 1. And then this doesn't matter. But these might. Not 8, not 9. Could be any. I'm really not used to having these cells that are basically like useless. because once you have the sums equal, then the common digit is kind of irrelevant. Right, so we have 1, 2, and 4, 8. And then the last digit is a 6. And it's kind of useful because you can see 2, 4, and 8 in here means this is 1 or 6. And we can have 1, 4, and 2 in here means this is 6 or 8. And then this last digit seems very open-ended, unfortunately. It's not 1, but it could be 2, 4, 6, or 8. Not brilliant. Now, very similar to what's going on in box 2, the center cell is irrelevant. These two have to sum up to a value that I should be able to write in here. And I kind of feel like if I go with a big digit, I'm going to be in trouble. In particular, if I make this a 6, to keep it to a single cell sum, that would have to be 2. But then I would need to put double 8 in here, because that would be 8 with the 6. And then I would need another 8 to make sure it adds up to 2 and 6. So that has to be a 1. That is a 2. It's definitely a 6 now between these two cells, but it doesn't matter. 1 and 4 would require a 5, and then 2 and 3. So this actually works. 1 and 8 would make this a 9, and it still works. Let's double check again. 1 and 4 would require 2 and 3, 2, 3, and then 5. That doesn't work. Right. Let's just eliminate the obvious things. 1 and 6 would be a 7, which it can be, and 1 and 8 would be a 9, which it can be. So for now, this works. Now, if it is 7 with 1 and 6, 1 and 6 are off. Can I do 2, 5? No, because the 2 and 5 are not available. Can I do 3, 4? Well, that's not the 4. Can this be the 4? Yes. 4 and 3 to get to 7, and 1 and 6 works. 9, 1 and 8. Then I would need either 2, 7. Not possible. 3, 6, not possible because the 6 will be in the middle. 4, 5, not possible. Short answer is this has to add up to 7. And therefore this is 3, this is 4, and this is a 7. And hopefully that will be enough. Is it enough? No. This will be 5 or 9. 6 in here will be, though. That's 8. Oh, that's a 6, 9 pair. In fact, 8. No, it doesn't matter. 8. This will be 5 or 6. It's not 6. So that would be 5, 6. Hang on, I've already got a 6. Sleuth, come on. 9. Yeah, there's nothing else left. 9. Sleuth, 1. It's 2. Thank you. 9. And then 5, which gives me 6, gives me 9, gives me 6, gives me 7. 8 gave me 4 and 8. 9 gave me 1. And if I've not made any mistakes, made a few, 9 for the finish. It's a beautiful puzzle, Timotab. Now, I'm actually going to carry on recording a bit longer. So I clearly didn't realize the irrelevance of this earlier. So I'm happy with the break-in in box 1. That was pretty smooth. Happy with my approach for box 3. Happy that I noticed that these add up to the same value. Happy with what I've done in box 9. Happy with what I've done in box 8. Box 7 as well was pretty smooth. By the time I got into box 5, I kind of realized the game. So I think it was a fairly smooth solve, other than kind of the shenanigans I got up to in box 2. Although I kind of nailed it intuitively with the 5, it took me a while to kind of realize that this is not a relevant slot. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the puzzle and the video. Timotab, thank you so much for the submission, and I'll see you guys back soon. Bye-bye for now.